Well, I don't know, I would say sometimes we're having trouble, we have to keep them out, then I'm just saying, you know, we used to say we don't card at the door, and now I think we have to card at the door.
Well, but I think that there are
Are you
people out
old
there
enough
that,
to come?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Because they like it.
yeah,
That's why I
no,
tell everybody, like, I can't wait until I can jump in the Zoom with classes and maybe, you know.
You could do some kind of incentive, like the first time somebody visits, they could, you know, the first time they sign in, they could get a certificate for like a $5 program.
Yeah.
Maybe the friends would cover that.
A newcomer's gift.
Yeah, exactly, like a newcomer's, you know.
But have it
voucher or
widely
something.
promoted so people will be incentivized
Well,
to come in.
or like a welcome gift for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, that's a tough one, the free lunch.
The free lunch is too hard.
In more ways than one, but it's a nice thought.
Beautiful, so just so I can,
Yeah, finish it.
just so I can pass these around so you guys can take a better look. I also have added to Jess's you know, volunteer application form here on the back. We've kind of made it a little bit more accessible for my line of work in regards to outreach. I've seen more so, I don't know if it's induced by the pandemic, but I've seen more so now than ever the need for people's assistance at home, whether they are bound to being at home due to mobility issues, or they just merely don't want to be in the public. Maybe they're immune suppressed, things like this. Or maybe they just, you know, just don't want to be, you know, don't want to go out and about, which is fine. So on the back side here, and you'll see when I pass this around, we've added outreach volunteers, meaning people going to, you know, being paired up by myself. We'll have our waiver liability, which is in the works, with Linda, Bob Clark, and myself over at HR. We're looking to create our own waiver form, so then, of course, we're all protected liability-wise, and also release of consent forms so they can be informed in regards to anything, you know, in regards to their medical information that may be important to them when they're out on a visit. And you'll see all the different examples of trash removal, things on, you know, just a friendly visit, which I think is huge. This initiative we had previously, which for the psychosocial piece I think is huge for a lot of our residents. And there's a whole list here of outreach volunteer efforts that we've added to this. Kind of spanning off of that, I'd love to be able to put this out all around town. So this is just basically I'm sorry, hard to see there, but basically it's just an outreach to the community looking for volunteers. This one here is the same thing, but it's geared towards more of the high school program, the high school age students who are looking for you know, community service hours to graduate. I know a lot of kids go through sports and things to get their community service, but if they're not into sports, at least they have another avenue to go for, and they're helping our community and not having to go out of town to be able to make a difference. So I think that's...
No, there are limited ways to use them.
Correct,
and really everyone in some of these instances, we do get the requests, and it would be nice to have a small pool.
Absolutely, and I had one today looking for the Boy Scouts. Will someone come over and just rake my leaves? Super simple. You know, I don't even know if there's kids in the neighborhood anymore, and it's kind of sad, but a lot of the kids aren't really doing that like they used to, you know, going over and shoveling and all these things. So I think that'll be a great initiative to start and to be able to support. And then lastly here, I just included our letter of intent for a grant that we applied for some services, maybe potentially for our like a day program of sorts. Yeah. We'd love to be more Alzheimer's and dementia friendly here, and that kind of just will support that. So that's kind of in the works as well. So I can pass around this binder so everyone can see it. I'll put everything in the front here.
So one other question, so on the distribution of the call for volunteers, I mean, are you gonna distribute it around town, like put it up like?
Well, we're close to that. I mean,
Yeah.
we just need to be very clear on how many we can field and what tasks we can have them go out into the community and do, you know, with some guidelines. So,
But that flyer for volunteers, is that just for volunteers in general?
It'd be a general volunteer, and then it would be, because it's so personal, and both the volunteer and the person in need, the resident in need, it's so case specific.
So that's what those flyers are
So the
for.
flyer would just say, you know, want to volunteer, would you like to help? Great, give me a call. When they call me, then I can dig more, whether it be over the phone or an in-person meeting, and kind of dig into what they're interested in doing, you know, what are their credentials, if you will, what are their interests, and then I would getting to know them, I would then be able to connect them with the resident that I know, and, you know, I've gotten to know, and make that connection, so we have a
And the
good
thing is
relationship
that
there.
we really, in the past, when we've done these things, we almost don't have difficulty with people who are willing to go out and be those friendly visitors. I mean, we do get a good response normally, or we have when we've done this. It's making the right matches, it's really having the people who say, be really ready and willing to have that visit. You know, maybe they're a little shy about that, so it is coaxing a little bit and having someone who our outreach person would know well enough to be able to match them with the right person and just in the right situation.
So I guess, you know, I was just trying to make the distinction, so are you also looking for like more volunteers for the senior center?
Well, that's Jess's role.
Okay,
And so,
because I thought you said, did you create that with Jessica?
So Jessica had like a volunteer form, so if someone said, I wanna help out here at the senior center, she would have that.
Okay.
But I've heard, yeah, so then on the back side, you know, she added a little box on the bottom that said outreach volunteer. And so once they select that, Jess can then turn them to the back side and say, okay, if you wanna volunteer outside of the senior center, if that's okay with you,
Right.
then you can go ahead, and that's when she kind of would pass that application to me, and then I would take over with that volunteer. So it's kind of like Jess and I are handling it together.
Sure.
So that's why I think it's another great thing, because we're kind of all working cohesively together. And it kind of goes back to, you know, because again, some people just wanted to be here, work the front desk, work in the kitchen, and they don't want to go into some people's homes. So I feel like definitely it's a comfort zone type of thing
Sure.
for people.
Right.
So I think it's very, and I don't have a problem going to people's homes, but some people may not particularly feel comfortable doing that. So that's why we're really trying to hone in on what they're comfortable with, and then finding, I'm gonna, you know, put in place protocols. Okay, we check in after every meeting. I know when you're going, so working with accountability, so I know when they have to go, when they leave, so everyone's happy, comfortable, safe, all these things. So all those will be written out, and the expectations will be given to them. And they'll be checking back with me to make sure that the volunteer is happy, that the person receiving services is happy. And it's kind of like an evolving, it's kind of a growing relationship that will.
Yeah. No,
So
I
how-
think that's great.
How do you find the clients? They come to you, or?
Some of the clients come to me. I hear a lot from friends, family, things like that. There's a support group around them. You know, hey, mom and dad need support. My neighbor, I think, needs a little assistance. I hear a lot from the hospitals team at South Shore Hospital, or locally, you know, some of the RNs will reach out to me, and their social workers, if you will, at the primary care offices will reach out to me and say, okay, we need this and that for services. And so then I can, you know, reach out to the individual, introduce myself, and make myself available.
That's great,
So,
because I think some people would be reticent about, you know,
Mhm.
saying, I need help, be me.
yeah, it's, a lot of people are very, very hesitant to do that, and then when they do, they think, oh, why didn't I do this
I know.
sooner?
I
Because
know.
then they lose that fear, if you will, or the hesitation, and they're, why did I hesitate? Because, you know, it's just me. You know, it's a friendly face and someone that wants to help, so it's not as scary once they finally jump in, or if they're pushed to get that service.
I wonder if we should talk this up at our church.
Well, this is
Yes,
why, I mean,
absolutely.
that's why I was asking, because I mean, I think it's a great thing and there's a huge need for it. So I guess my question is just in terms of protocol. So if, you know, if one of us were to observe, let's say, a neighbor that we really felt could probably use some help, and I haven't seen the handbook yet, so I don't know what the different categories are, but like looking at your report, I mean, I know hoarding was a big issue that Jenny used to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm just using that as an example, but so let's say that you have a neighbor, oh, I'm sorry, let's say that, this table's moved.
well,
Yeah, let's just say that, you know, you see a neighbor and you think, you know, they probably could use help. Or you happen to visit somebody and you are observing within their home, like, that they really probably could use some social services. I mean, how does that work? I mean, can you like, can someone go to you and say, listen, I think this person needs help, but then what happens, can you approach them? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm always looking for creative ways. for example, basically kind of stemming off of your example, I have so many neighbors and family members that don't want to upset their loved ones or neighbors and kind of not call them out, but they don't want to bring attention or bring light to the need that they may have. So they'll say, oh, don't tell them that I called for them. So, as my position, I just will call these people and just introduce myself. I'm from the senior center. I help everyone in Scituate. So I kind of approach it sometimes as like I'm just reaching out to people in the town, just to keep, their relationships strong and not have to put pressure or strain on their relationship. Because some people do react negatively and don't want that support or don't think they need the support.
So what, you would just call up and introduce yourself?
Yeah, just introduce myself. I'm in Scituate, working in a new position here, and of course, I'm not that new at this point, but some people know that. So I'll just kind of introduce myself and just say, hey, I'm, here to support everybody and,
Maybe you and the social worker overlap employment.
So we work a lot, so it actually kind of works out my history with the police department because that's kind of where we're introduced, where the police and fire department will come in, whether it be, a transport to the hospital, and they see an elder at risk that needs, a cleaner home, maybe it's hoarding, or if they need crab bars, or if their home is unsafe, smoke detectors, things like that. She'll get the report from the police department, and then she'll be able to hand it to me. So we kind of work back and forth. On the same hand, I pass things back to her, where it's more mental health. So when I'm working with, a senior that may need assistance, plainly and simply grab bars, they may need, in-home care, laundry, all those things that I can give, services I can help provide and help connect. But if I see that there is a mental health issue that needs attention, that's when I'll contact Erica, share the information. She can of course see my senior center with my notes and things, and that's when we kind of communicate back and forth. Maybe we'll go out to the home and meet the individual personally, which is nice because then it's not just a stranger going in. And the rapport is already built for myself, so they can trust me that I'm bringing someone in that's going to be able to be helpful for them. So we work a lot together.
What about the homeless? Is that falls under your or?
It could, I mean, people could and have come in, not lately, I don't think, but and let us know that they had an issue, and that did happen during the pandemic. But not lately. And we have some steps we know we could take for someone, otherwise it may go beyond us a little bit, and then Erica may be a little bit more help in that case.
Yeah.
Erica's dealing with one man right now. He's not quite, I think he's 48, so he wouldn't technically fall under my realm here at the senior center as a senior. So she's dealing with him, getting him through things like Community Christmas and things like that, getting him funds for clothes and food and things like that, assistance for housing, so she actually did find him a place. That was kind of nice. That was amazing in Marshfield, so she's going to connect him with that.
But Erin has helped a couple of people who were in some dire straits, losing where they were living and needing something fairly quickly. And she did actually uncover.
It's a lot of digging, but I found it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, because it came up at the town meeting, the whole issue of homelessness. So I think a lot of people in town don't realize that, I guess homelessness can be a problem anywhere.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just didn't know where that fit into the whole realm of things. So I guess, is there any, I haven't seen the list of topics on the resource, in the resource handbook, but I guess, I don't know if anyone has any ideas of other categories of resource.
Yeah,
that
and the one you'll see in there is just a brief, just more of the more popular, ones, and from that conversation, that I have with the volunteers, when something does come up, that's kind of why, Linda and I have talked, and Jess as well, could we have a volunteer or have someone like Jess be able to interview those people? But I feel as though someone like myself that knows the clients needs to, or the residents, if you will, needs to be that person to make the connection. because I know their needs inside and out and all those things, so that's why, you know, say if they check off all those things and something arises that's not on those lists, I can then reach out to them, hey, would you be interested in, you know, taking them to a doctor's appointment? Oh, I don't feel comfortable with that. Okay, no problem at all, we'll find somebody else. So it's kind of, it will be, and I'll have that conversation with the volunteers.
Right.
You know, it can be an ever-changing thing, because every single day I'm approached with new things and,
Yeah. Like
new,
people looking, because I mean, obviously, some of these things like handyman, snow removal,
Yeah.
great, you know, yard work, I mean,
those are for
like, for
me.
example, do you have anyone that can paint pictures?
Exactly, yeah, and I've had that before, you know, so it's always ever changing. Yeah, so it's amazing, some of the things, you know, I
Yeah.
had one woman asking for, you know, someone to come in and do a pedicure for her mother on hospice. I hadn't heard that one before, so I said, all right, let's find somebody, so I found her someone. So
Wow, okay.
it's every day is, it's a fun challenge, finding, you know, answers to questions I've
Yeah,
never
or
heard.
like having, you know, hair, you know, styling,
Yep.
you know, having some hair washed or,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, all
We
those
do,
things.
and we have got those requests, and I mean, the hope is that we really don't ever have to say, no, we don't know, and hang up the phone.
Right.
That's really what we don't wanna do, so the hope is
So
that.
that, I mean, that's why I was just saying, you know, if there were all those other, like, little categories, as I'm sitting here thinking about all the things I had to do for my mom and
Oh,
my
yeah.
dad,
Yeah.
you know, to try to get in-home services.
Mhm.
So, you know, to be proactive, which I think is fabulous, like
Mhm.
to Linda's point, that you don't wait until, so that you can have somebody to refer, so it's sort of interesting to see if there were other
Exactly,
categories.
so that's why I wanna build this, this core group of volunteers, if you will, to be proactive, like you said, so right when someone calls, I can have 3 names in my head thinking, okay, I think this person, they could be great connections, they could be great resources to this person, you know, instead of having to, you know, like I like to return phone calls and get answers like this, so having this bank of volunteers will help us, help people faster and more efficiently, so then we can hopefully continue to help more and more people without delay, so.
Yes. You probably have already said this, but
Mhm.
your binder where you have all the various services,
Mhm.
how are you going to be making that available to people?
This binder here is basically just for our staff
The
for now.
in-house.
Yeah, for our
Okay.
in-house, so if I'm not here, this kind of hopefully acts as a placeholder, maybe I'm out on a meeting with somebody or whatever, what have you. It's basically accessible to all the staff here. I also have them as soft copies on the computer,
Oh,
so
good.
if someone come in, like just yesterday, oh, I'm looking for options for a life alert button, could you give me a few options? So instead of, you know, scribbling things out, I'm able to kind of print those out, professional, if you notice it's nice size 16 font so everyone can read it, at least my eyes can read it, so I'm able to print that out and it's just a nicer way of delivering the information to people versus just writing things down
In
or.
developing a list, did you actually speak to each one of these
I
vendors?
did not, no, we got some services, some of the resources, from people in the community, but also, initially, I actually had done exactly what a lot of our friends did and went on things like Scituate Monthly,
Oh,
Hanover Connect, all these local,
Yeah.
online resources, where I hear people saying, oh, you know, I'm looking for a painter in the area. And then you can kind of get people's real feedback.
that's good. Yeah.
So, and it's good too, because people are very honest on the internet, so I've heard a lot of, you know, good and bad things about certain resources, so where I haven't really reached out to everybody, at least I can say, you know,
People
our
are
community,
saying
our community Scituate, residents.
Yeah, I mean,
like
you just
these.
say, it's up to them to look.
Exactly.
These are names that you've heard, because if you say you
Yeah.
endorse them, then
Yeah.
yes.
Exactly, so that's why I just, you know.
Held us
keep
back before that we
Mhm.
couldn't vet, or maybe didn't feel like we should vet or had the
Yeah.
ability to do that, but at this point, if we can be upfront with, we've collected these resources, we do have some references
Yeah.
for some,
Yeah.
but otherwise, at least it is a phone call.
It's a place to put them to
To
start.
start, exactly, it
If
leads
there
through a
is
lot of
one,
the
if they need our help
options.
doing it, then we can do that then too.
And that's exactly what I've done too, when people are too overwhelmed, even by a shortened list like that. You know, I know when it was, you know, snow removal time, I actually went through my snow removal list and said, okay, who's actually taking new clients? Because a lot of those people on the list weren't even taking new clients, so I got rid of those, found different
Yes.
alternatives and said, okay, would you be willing to take on new clients? Yes, okay, are you willing to, help seniors on fixed incomes. Are you willing to do a discount for people like that? Oh, of course, absolutely. They go right to the top of the list. So I did start for more, what's the word? When the needs are higher and like those categories, like snow removal, I'll probably do the same thing for landscaping companies. That's when I start to go through it a little more and dig a little bit deeper for people, do more of the research.
So Erin's report too is in your packet. That's her report, so if you have any questions firsthand, she can tell you.
Yeah, and a lot of the categories on there too are more the popular, services that I help, services rendered. There are many things that aren't included on there on a day-to-day basis, quick little questions and answers that come up that I don't include, so, but those are a majority of the recurring needs that I see.
I mean, COVID during that time brought up so many things that we had to do
Meals
for
on
people,
Wheels was
prescription pickups,
Absolutely.
supermarkets. I mean, it was just things that we did that we would never have done before, but now know they need often. Our drivers will do prescription pickups.
So it would be available at the front desk for anyone such as myself coming here to look for a plumber. I can just say, could I see, what would I call it, the resource,
So usually if people come to their front desk and say, oh, I need a plumber, they would just say, go see Erin.
Go see Erin.
Yep, and they come right to me just so I can make that connection. I don't really like the idea of just saying, here's a binder, because it's not very
No,
personal.
you don't want
Yeah, I don't like that. I like to be able to connect, so then they know I'm here. So, if they need help,
Something else.
something else in the future, they feel comfortable and not just, oh, it was a black binder. I put a name behind them.
If you are to hold visit something, you can say, oh, she's not here, but she'll call you.
Exactly, yep, exactly what we do, so. And we get business cards now, so then the business cards are for them as well, which is great, when they fly like
Do you
hotcakes.
have business cards with you?
I have them downstairs, I can go grab some.
Yeah, just be prepared, I think everyone sitting here.
Right?
Feeling is probably gonna be at your door.
Right, that's fine by me.
Heating, mulching.
I was
Love
just
it, yep.
thinking that maybe one of the volunteers, or even anybody here could volunteer to attempt to call these people and say, we're including you in a referral list for our seniors. Is that okay? Would you welcome, senior clients? I think it might be great to do that.
Yeah,
Because you wouldn't have to do it all yourself, but people.
for sure,
I agree with
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
All right, so Maria, are you offering
I
to
will
do
do
this?
some of it, yes, I will.
Beautiful.
So you're raising your hand again for something that you don't know what you're signing up for?
This time I do know.
Right.
So who's gonna be your partner in crime?
Dean.
Been selected.
You know what, I thought I fixed it, but it has to go down.
Yeah, it was nice. I reached out, like I told you, the snow removal.
Yeah.
I got such a great response, a lot of
Right.
very, very
I think
kind gentlemen, but I would absolutely love to, thank you, they're very appreciative, because it all, one hand washes the other. I send the business, they can help the community by supporting people that may not have the assistance otherwise, but
And
of
I
course.
think what's great about it is like, if these all weren't, and I'm not saying vetted, but at least called and informed that they were being included, then, when someone calls them from the senior center or whatever, they're gonna say, Erin, who
Yeah,
said you?
And they'll call them back.
Right.
Which I know
Yeah.
people's biggest complaint is that they don't get called in.
Right.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of reassurance when you know you have my guy, I had a plumber problem,
Yeah.
potential on Sunday, and I was hysterical, I just can't deal with all this stuff. And I did text this, and he was like gonna be right on it, I'm like, he's my God.
Yeah, now, yep.
So you're not gonna give his name out to anybody else?
Right.
Keep your own guys.
I just think it's
So the other thing is, will they offer a senior discount?
That's the other question we could ask.
And that's something I could write up too, like a little,
Right.
are you willing to be put on our,
Yes, you could write
in our
up those
resource book, so I could,
questions.
do a little list of
I'm not
questions
very
for everybody
volunteer,
and
Yeah.
to make it easy for you. Be
Post
awesome.
Easter agenda.
Yeah. After the holidays.
Great.
Well,
So do you
just-
wanna go over just quickly your report?
Yeah.
Let's see. It's in the
It's in
packet.
the packet,
What
yeah.
Oh, she came,
So I think
Hold on,
Yeah, I think they
hold
weren't
on,
enough.
hold on.
they went to
I
that.
had 10. I
Yeah,
swear
so
I saw.
Marie
Here's
and,
mostly because we took the notes.
Oh, there you go, okay. So without being super redundant, my report basically just reflects everything I spoke of in the binder. The front page of the report, you'll see some of the more prevalent categories. Of course, this month some have zeros next to it, they ebb and flow, especially when I do a certain push to help an initiative, then of course I won't see those people or hear from those people for a while, and then they resurface. So those numbers are always changing. These numbers are pretty accurate. It's hard sometimes, because again, I do keep my own system to collect the data here. But of course, sometimes I'm more focused on helping the people than data entry, so sometimes if nothing else, these numbers are a little light.
So what would be the key thing on the Scituate Housing Authority, because that has the largest number of outreach?
So for March, March is when they do their research for the housing research, certification for Lincoln Park and Wheeler Park.
So what does that mean? If you're living there, you have to reapply?
For every year, we have to provide financial statements and these things, just to make sure you're still qualified to live
qualified.
there, yeah. And again, this was my first year working here, so I didn't realize that. Going forward now, again, to be proactive versus reactive, I'll now know, okay, by March 14th, I believe, is the deadline. So I now know February, I'm gonna be reaching out, making a nice pretty flyer and saying, okay, let's say Wednesdays at the senior center, come see Erin for support for your research, instead of having to, you know,
Be like a CPA, getting ready for
essentially,
tax
yes,
return.
exactly. So, but now I know for next year, so we'll be ready even more so than we were this year.
That's great.
Again, the next page, like I said, basically covers, you know, everything that I've been working on for both March and April. A lot of overlap, volunteers, the waiver forms. Again, like you said, Scituate Housing, all the initiatives. Been working very closely with Margie. She's awesome.
What's Margie's name?
Margie Carr. I'm not sure of her exact title. Do you know what her title is?
Never mind, she's not the executive director of the housing authority, that's Kathy Demarche, but under her, she is the person who sort of is in the office,
Yeah.
sort of fielding a lot of the requests and,
Sure.
Maybe office manager or
Yeah, some
You
sorts,
know.
yeah. She's very helpful. She's sent a lot of needs my way that she hears of. People go to her, oh, this person needs, you know, X, Y, or Z, can you help them? And then she'll have the resident come to me. So I think that's another great source. Just an eyes out in Scituate looking for people in need. So I think that's another beautiful, beautiful relationship that I have. Let me see here, Scituate Housing. Yeah, that's basically just about it, and everything that we talked about.
great.
I think it's great also that you're engaging the church, because I think that's a great resource also
Me
for,
too.
to help.
I mean, that's great, that men's group, I mean, that's kind of
The-
new.
The UU has, the Unitarian Church also has had a men's group, and they have always been helpful.
That's
Deacon Maddie had called me, you know, kind of early during the pandemic, maybe before it really hit, and then they couldn't do some things, and now.
Yeah, I mean, you should almost maybe bring it up at the next
Yeah,
PDC
no, I
meeting.
think just a,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's, everything sounds great and fabulous. It sounds like you're doing a fabulous job. Anyone else have any questions for Erin or comments or?
I agree, you're doing a great job.
yeah, fabulous.
You are doing a fabulous job. Thank you so much for everything you're doing for the
You have a lot of energy.
Yes, I try.
And she always has a
Well,
smile.
we do
She
have
does.
slated,
She does
for
always have a
future,
smile.
maybe some self-defense for
Very important.
Yes.
women
I
or
can't
seniors.
wait.
There's all those real people who speak with a smile on their face
Yeah.
all the time.
I try
I
to.
think
That's why I'm
that's
so
so
happy
nice.
masks are
That
gone.
is
I'm like, I really
so
can't
nice.
see when I'm smiling
I
behind a
know.
mask. So.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, so that was what Linda just said, so you may run a self-defense course for
Yeah.
women. Ooh, that would be
That would be
valuable.
really good.
Especially with the police background.
Yeah, police background. I,
Right.
you know, I fought in MMA and boxing and wrestling and stuff.
So
So
I would definitely
Yeah,
say
me
yes,
too.
yes, please, please.
it'll be great. I can gear it towards safety in general, so I can kind of encompass not only just hands-on techniques, but techniques of being safe in your home, safe when you're out and about, and you know,
I think
in
that's-
public.
I think that's,
And
that's
Ah,
awesome.
I like that a lot.
Me too.
I think there's right, exactly. So it's the greatest thing to have, but never have to use. So it's good knowledge to have and keep in your back pocket and smile.
Have we
and
ever done
stuff, so.
CPR courses here?
We have to every 2 years get recertified actually, so Mark Donovan has always been the one who's come from the fire department, he does it for the rec department, he does it for us, so all the staff has to do it. We've never offered it to the public,
It is offered by the rec department.
But the rec department does actually,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, they do. In fact, I don't know, I've lost track of what month it is, but they're offering it this spring, summer season, I think. Well, thank you so much, Maureen, for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To your flock. You feel free
You
to
can stay or
leave.
you don't have to.
I may run just because of my
Yeah.
little one.
Yeah,
Today.
exactly, please.
It's always something with a 7 and 5-year-old, so.
Wow.
Busy, they keep me busy, so.
Well, thank you again for coming, it was
Oh, I'm
awesome.
gonna go run and get business cards
Okay,
too
super.
before I head out, so,
Yes.
and you guys can keep the binder if you'd like to keep looking at it.
I'll take care of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
super.
I'll go grab those. Thank you for
All
having
right,
me.
thank you for coming, that was awesome.
No
All
problem.
right, so Linda, I
Be
guess
right back.
you're next up in the queue.
I'll be right back with those cards.
All right. Well, pardon my very brief report, but that's good in the interest of time. But again, just continues to be busy, and chipping away at things that have sort of been hanging over my head at least. But AARP, I would just start, they have finished the program, the tax preparation program, which was really fabulous. And I did need to check the numbers, and I did, but we had appointments up through Tuesday, April 12th. Fairly continuously. And I know back last month, we reported 90 up to March, and now we've got another 6 weeks, so I would just say that doubled.
Is this the first year?
Second year. I mean, I think they were pleased that last year, of course, it was still, sort of pandemic structured, so they were at the community building, because we weren't here yet. They had the whole building to themselves, they liked the view, but, they were really kind of on their own and isolated. They really did enjoy being here in the building with us, and it was nice. I think it was really nice. We were able to give up that Pickety room, and really the Driftway conference room. So they had intake, which they keep private, and then they have a setup that they did in the other room, because it was big enough to accommodate that with the clients coming in. So I gave them, I don't know if you've seen the lunch bags that we've had with the Scituate Senior Center. We had just enough to give them a regift. We gave them lunch on their last day and, a thank you note, because really it was nice to have those, so they did appreciate that. They spent 2 days here a week and 2 days at Marshfield a week, the crew. And there were 8 or 9 people.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that people actually really took advantage of it.
They did. It wasn't really confined to just older senior adults. Anyone who needed to have that assistance, it was open to them. And also it wasn't restricted to just Scituate residents. We were a host town.
Was it 16?
No, it didn't, it was
Even
not,
though it's, or the 15 over, even though it's AAL?
it was no age restriction. It was anybody. We do have a new custodian, as Pat had asked earlier, Jim Murray. Sorry, I didn't include his last name in there. He actually is under the facilities department. So we're sharing him with the recreation department, sort of under Nick's tutelage at the moment, but he's had experience. He had been cleaning, I think, is at Massport, he's at other jobs, and he's great. So we're very happy to have him. Glad Tom was able to do that. We really have been looking since last summer and just not found anyone, so perfect. I think he's gonna like it here too. I am off the Tai Chi for the time being, and it's nice, so Sandy is back. That's freed up my Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Who's Sandy who?
Her name is Sandy O'Hara. She was since last summer doing the Tai Chi, but then she went to Florida for 3 months and I filled in 2 days a week. That was a lot.
OHA,
Interestingly, the parking monitoring data, I had reported to you last time that, I sent it to the traffic engineer. It took me a month to get it automated. We had to put it in a spreadsheet. But now, since then, it's taken them a month, and they've reviewed the data, and they have come to some sort of bullet point conclusions based on their first pass. But they actually want to come and observe our Tuesdays, which, funny enough, sort of floated to the top as our most overcapacity days, which is a surprise. And I should have known myself from the numbers, and I know about the spikes, but I didn't realize how consistent those spikes were. And basically, I will say, if they come to observe, that's our lightest lunch. And even the activities that we have on Tuesdays, the ones that really send us over the top are only the monthly men's breakfast days, once a month. But combined with the food pantry, I'm afraid that's where we've seen the spike. So it's a little bit of a, not to say skewed day, but because we are fielding so much, that's what's come to the surface for them. So they are going to come out and observe one more day before they can complete their report and get it into the planning department, which really wants it by May and wants us to go before the planning board in May, so that we can really look at whether or not we need to ask for more parking, which we assume we will. St. Patrick's Day Parade, I want to give kudos to Marie, because there's your little sign. I don't know if you saw it that
I
day.
did, it was out there.
All right,
Yep.
but I used it. I thought I was actually embarrassed, because I'm a little spatially, unless I really see things, so I'd asked for this particular size sign, and when I got it, I'm like, oh my, that is very big. But then as it turns out, for people to actually see it and read it,
Oh, yeah.
where we stuck it on the side, each side of the V, and it ended up being just fine, but I was a little horrified that I did that. Because I didn't see, but anyway, so we have them. If we use it again next year, they're there. LPI, liturgical publications, so not this month, we are just really trying to get the newsletter out the door tomorrow to the publisher.
What's LPN?
Liturgical publications.
That's who does the
That
newsletter.
prints the newsletter.
Princeton, yeah.
Um,
They do the same, they do it for the churches.
They
too.
do, actually. I mean, that was their main audience, was churches in the beginning, and I'm going back now, gosh, 8 to 10 years ago, 10
That's
years
why
ago
it
maybe.
looks like the church.
But then they bought, there was a publishing, senior citizen publishing, something like that, way back 10 years ago, and they bought that, so that's how they got into this. Anyway, we got an increase, so we didn't change it to monthly, but we get an increase to 16 pages. So next time for the July-August newsletter will be 16 pages.
Wow.
That's one extra page for ads, so they will continue to sell ads, which is how they support the free printing. We have 3 new advertisers that we just heard about. The Cord Wayner Memory Care Assisted Living Center, which is in Norwell. Good Deeds House Cleanouts, and Twin Pines Law Firm, which
I
is
can recommend Good Deeds. She really runs a fabulous
great.
charitable business.
So that is nice. That should come out in the new one that's being printed, this week or next week, and out for May. So that's nice. So that's how they were able to do that. If we can support it with advertisers, then that's how we can get a little bit more. And we actually increase the quantity that we print. So we mail out, I'm saying right now, we probably mail out maybe close to 1,600, and then we like to have a bunch here. So we were only printing 2,000, which includes the mailing, and we were running out. So the last 2 times we have run out in the second month, even at the
Yeah.
beginning of the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
month. So we are being allowed to up it to 2,200.
Oh, good, good.
So
It's
I
still
know
for
you
no
don't
cost.
like doing the blast. The,
Oh, I like doing the blast. It's just having time to do the blast. But that's just me.
does that go to everybody in town or just the over 60?
The blast, which is an email.
No, the,
Oh, the voice
Yeah.
blast.
yeah, the voice
Well, I
blast.
do a voice blast. We do a voice blast when there's a reason to do a voice blast.
But, I mean, the newsletter only comes out six
Every 2
times a
months.
year.
Yeah.
And if you do a blast saying, you can pick it up here or you can download it. And then you can refer to it over the next couple of months. We have a lot of exciting things happening.
And that is true, but I will say our database is not so tight that I'm comfortable with the blast going to every single person in our database, because so many people are in there for different reasons.
Yeah.
They're not all
I agree.
participatory entries, records. So that, I guess, has held me back a little bit on the voice blast. Also, the fact that we really can't. We just, phone connections are a little uncertain these days with people's home phones being our primary field and not knowing if those exist or if we're getting them. I mean, and I shouldn't worry about that, but that's partly what.
They may not know it, but
held us
their
back.
neighbor may know it or the.
Well, that's true.
In order for them to, well, there's 2 things. One is with the robocall. I think right now, saving it for like really critical things like the senior center is gonna be a cooling center
Right,
during the
right,
summer, or it's
right,
gonna
right,
be
yeah,
a
exactly.
warming center. I mean, if
We
you
did it about the
start,
vaccination.
right, so, but I'm saying, if you started using it with things like, hey, you know, check out our website for, people are gonna get really, I think
But
if
it
it's,
would only be 6 times a year.
I think people have to be a little bit resourceful and
Okay, I'm motivated.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time figuring out when
Yeah.
to look on them, where to look and when to look.
Yeah,
Call
we
it the
can
senior
think about
center.
some way to.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to use the robocall for something like that rather than saving it for when it's really important, because if somebody picks up the phone or they listen to their voicemail, it's like, hi, this is Linda Hayes from the senior center. I mean, oh, I don't wanna,
I mean,
that's just
And
enough.
that's fine if they, oh yeah, I don't need that, and they
I
can
don't
hang up,
know.
that's fine, they don't know what I'm gonna say yet. Okay,
If it's
good.
overused, I think.
Right?
But I will say,
Yeah.
let's say, you know, yesterday I had to cancel something at the last minute that was
Yeah.
happening today. Now, that's
Again, a
obviously,
time-sensitive,
Well,
critical thing.
and we know who those people are, I'm not saying it to anyone who doesn't care.
right,
Right.
But we did email and voicemail,
yeah.
even though it was only 25 people, let's say,
Yeah.
but, you don't know who you're gonna lose if you only did the email and not the
Right.
voice, you know, we know if they don't have email, so we have to do the voice, but frankly, not everybody gets the voice these days.
Yeah.
But that's fine, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah, that's like just for 20 people or something.
I appreciate the comment,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Linda, are the ad rates in the newsletter, are really
I
defined?
don't believe they're in the newsletter, that really probably involves a call, and that is in the newsletter, where to call
Oh, it is,
to
okay.
seek out the
But you
advertising.
would really actually be calling that company,
You
right?
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you get the
Now,
advertising?
I will say, well, it's in the newsletter on the back, it says, you know, if you're interested in advertising in the newsletter, make this phone call to the sales
Does
staff.
anybody do marketing or they just find them?
That's what it is.
We don't do marketing, and I used to shy away from it. Now, I'm much more receptive. They have their salesperson who's assigned to us, and every approximately July, they want her to spend a week here.
Oh,
That's fine. Now, you know what, we know her. She's done the job for quite some time, which is nice, so she knows us. She's come to know the community a little bit. And she will ask us what we know about the community, who are the different players, medical or other resources that might be conducive to our advertising in the newsletter. So we do help them, but they do it. So they make the calls, they make the visits, they make the connections. And that, you know, it's good, it's worked, so.
And they always advertise for people.
I mean, St.
to help
Mary's
them.
has this, and they have a ton of advertisers. If we just opened their newsletter
Yeah, and say,
and
okay,
started
these are the
calling their
ones, yeah.
advertisers, they have a lot.
Yeah, they do. And it's the same people over and over again, but, yeah, and they, if anyone's looking for a part-time job and you like sales and marketing,
Yeah.
they're always looking to hire people.
Yeah.
I can tell you that for sure.
Ah.
So anyway, that's good news for us anyway. Kind of nice news, we have a centenarian being celebrated this month.
Wow.
April 23rd, Dorothy Bates Gammon will be having a 100th birthday party that I will go to along with our select board chairperson, Karen Conley, to deliver the proclamation that we create for them.
Right.
There's a pin that they're given that represents the Boston Post cane that's downstairs hanging. They don't all get a cane now, they just get the pin. But then we add them to the plaque that's hanging over the cane. And, you know, it's just a nice, hopefully it's nice.
Great.
And I think this year, because we haven't been able to do this before, I think actually we'll give her a lunch gift certificate. And then she can come in and see the plaque and have lunch, because I know she hasn't been here yet. Now, interestingly, last year we only had one, and we didn't really get to visit this person because she was more infirm and the family wasn't receptive to that. I may still put her on the plaque, which I haven't done. But we have 7 total this year,
Wow.
which is
That's awesome.
so pretty
Can I,
neat.
can I share
I
a
think
frame
the
of this?
senior
Oh,
center
sure.
is extending
Um,
people's lives.
My 7-year-old granddaughter had an assignment, you know, what are you gonna be like at 100? I will be relaxing, you know, watching TV, and then I'll be getting together with my friends and we'll be playing soccer.
Oh,
That's
her
encouraging.
100. That's very funny. Well, we have one little story that's not really the same, but one young boy who had come in because he has an interest in fly fishing and the flies, and this guy who used some space, he had done a talk for us. So he was doing creating fishing flies, they call them flies, right? Okay. So anyway, the dad brought this young boy in to do the fly fishing with them, and he was it was like looking around, loved doing that with the group of older men, and then saw the pool table, and was playing pool, and then did a little something else, and then told his mother later, he said, can I go in a time machine so I can get to be old enough to go to the senior center? Yeah. See, but I mean, everybody wants to come. It was very
wow,
cute.
that's
Really cute.
That's great.
Well, Jess's daughter loves the place.
And she does. Yeah, which is great, So the Girl Scouts came in and they cleaned, they helped clean and organize the closets in the game room. That was just kind of a
Their little project.
community service meeting that they had here, so yes, that was cute too.
Did they-
And also, so the art exhibit for the middle school went well, and there was a reception that I think, I know what it was, there was a mix-up. I had advertised it, or it was in the newsletter that it was going to be on this certain night, and they did mix it up and had told the parents that it would be on the Monday night. So when we realized that, I just said, fine, we'll do it Monday night, it's fine. I did not really feel that there would be a lot of our public coming in. So we did that, but it was very nice that the parents and the students did come in and the teachers were here. I was here, Lucille was there with me. So that was nice. Now, the high school reception is on the book, so to speak. It is April 26th, which is a Tuesday night, beginning at 4 till 7 or 7:30. And they're really calling out all the stops. They have a quartet coming of students playing music.
Wow.
So if anybody wants to come, that might be fun.
Is that to kick off or to wind
It will
up?
really be at the end,
Yeah.
because it's there now for this month, and it will be April 26th. So really, actually, they're taking it down the next day.
Who's coming in after?
And then the next artist, it actually ends up being a single artist show, which I really wasn't encouraging, but she is very good, and she knew one of the committee members who sought her out. Her name's Peggy Roth Major, and it's photography and verse, and it's sort of a cohesive exhibit. I mean, maybe much like the one that we had done with the woman who was the caregiver for her husband with Alzheimer's. So that was a single artist, and that was very nice
So
to
this,
have.
who made that decision?
Who made what decision?
Who's gonna,
Well, I have a committee, a strong committee,
committee, yeah.
who helps to
So it's the
solicit
same
and
committee,
arrange for
not a
the
building committee.
artist to come in. It's just the art exhibit committee. I certainly didn't want to be responsible for that by myself, and it's nice to have their expertise. So May and June, for approximately 6 to 8 weeks, will be Peggy, and then July and August will be a group of mosaic artists, actually.
Ooh,
which
that's
are very
interesting.
nice. And then September and October, we are soliciting, so we'll put out a call for artists in July and August. And that will be a call for artists, basically, to do a show, a group show. And they won't have to be senior artists per se, just adult artists in general.
You know, I just have an idea, that could be dangerous, but, you know, obviously featuring like the middle school students and the senior students, what if there was an art exhibit that was from the art teachers in the town?
Yeah,
Because I know one of the women that's in my crochet class, she actually teaches art at the elementary school. And she is amazing as an artist. It reminded me because when you said, because she does mosaic, she goes to all the beaches and collects rocks and sea glass and shells, and she makes these unbelievable.
Wow.
And then their reception could have the music teachers play.
Yeah, okay, let's keep this thing going here. No, but I'm just thinking, you know, you featured the students, how about if we featured the teachers in town? Because they're probably all
Probably
incredible
fabulous.
artists in their
Yeah.
own right. And they all went to art school and all that stuff, and a lot of them, I mean, I've met a few of them just, you know, through serendipity here in town, and they all have their own private, you know, some of them have their own studios and, you know.
Online presence and all.
Yeah, that kind of thing, so
Yeah.
that
Well,
might be
that's
an
right.
interesting
It'd be
thing, and
nice.
it's the beginning of the school year, so, it, you know, it might be a nice way to kick off the new school year.
Well, you could maybe have themes for the various holidays that are happening, right? Like, I don't know if people are offended by, you know, things like a Halloween theme or, you know, but pictures that would all have a certain feel to them. And then you get to Christmas, of course, you'd have.
Well, when we run out of other ideas, that's an idea, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that would be, that's a little harder to coordinate.
Right.
Just thinking off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but it's a good suggestion, and I'm sure when, I mean, in some ways it may happen, maybe a summer show would be landscapes, summer landscapes, but they have some ideas, and honestly, already are thinking about 2023, so when you start doing it basically every 2 months, it goes fast.
Yeah, wow.
But there's a big community of artists, and it's far and wide the types of art that you find, so they are thematic somewhat. But that's just a little bit ahead, and that's what I know of at this point. Now, the other thing I have going on, I guess, that I do mention in here is, I wanted to put up sort of a welcome to the senior center. I mean, policies I mentioned last time, it's just trying to say it with nice language without being too rule-oriented, but have policies. So for instance, for the cafe, we're trying to say, for instance, people will come in and want these nice cafe to-go lunches on Friday because we don't serve the congregate lunch. But slight dilemma in that, well, if we let them buy them, when they're ready at 10 in the morning, then they're gone fairly quickly. We only have a limited number. So there are people who go into the exercise class at 11 until 12. And they want to be able to either reserve them or buy them ahead of time so they don't run out before they get up. But then people come in and want to buy lunch at 11:30 and they're gone because everyone from the earlier times have come in and taken them. So again, it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
duh, I need a policy. So we've now tried to, we were going to limit it to 1 per person, but realized some people may be bringing them home for a spouse, let's say, a roommate. So limiting them to 2 or per person, I think I'm saying per person. So please tell me that you're bringing it home to someone else. And that we're not opening the window for lunch until 11:30. That actually left one woman who decided she wouldn't go to the exercise class so she could be there at 11:30. Which I don't want, we don't want to do that, but we can't, you make one exception and then just because. So, just saying, so this is the flyer for the cafe, trying to simply do that if we can.
And we are still not doing
You
We're not
could pick them up
packing
on the way out if you want to see.
Monday through Thursday lunches to go.
We don't pack up Monday and
Right.
Thursday lunches to go, that is true.
Right.
Because
Because that could
basically
be another nightmare.
we're trying to max the lunches for what we can seat in the dining room and not, now if he ends up with leftovers, because honestly that does happen, he can't foresee that always. The soups, for instance, which go further than he might have anticipated. I mean, we do like that, we do like to have the Friday availability for people who kind of need it. So you can pick that up, I don't need to pass that around. I might pass these around, however, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna do that. Because these are, one is, welcome to the Scituate Senior Center, something I might hang, because it used to hang in our old building. And basically was just very loose sort of guidelines for what people should realize if they're coming in to participate in activities or be in the building. I have standards of independence that, I used to, I just have it. I know what they are. It's not like I've ever had them available for public. Did I do that right?
I don't know, because I took one from each.
Yes, it's 2, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess the
Okay.
top one from me, I got the same thing.
I might have an extra, let's see. So the standards, one is just more of a concise way of saying a little something, and the other is the standards of independence. So if you look at the shorter one, which is easier, quicker to read, something I'll point out like welcomes all independent senior adults. I mean, independent does have importance in that sentence.
Yeah.
We go on and talk about that in the standards of independence. And basically that does mean that it's not a drop-off for people who are unable to take care of themselves or don't have the cognitive ability to really participate in a class situation. And we are running into that. So it's a delicate, sensitive sort of,
So you would give these out in there?
well, they're available, and I do say in this, that I might hang, that a complete copy of our standards of independence is available for, from the front desk
Right.
or from the administrative staff. So I don't know, I think I would just have them, maybe I would put them near, the check-in machine, if we do that. So I think it's just something that is becoming a little bit more important to say, or at least have available. So respectful and courteous to everyone, needless to say, I mean, you just need to say that. It's not that we've had any instances where that's been a big problem, but it could be. Being mindful, and I used the word mindful instead of aware, but it's the same thing if anybody has a feeling that it should be aware that the senior center is a public facility. Having cell phone conversations, walking down the hall, for instance, on the speakerphone, that's a hard thing maybe to stop and ask someone not to do, but I would like to. So I'm kind of trying to say it here without maybe saying it, but we're gonna have to say it, because people are doing that.
Yes.
Now, I will ask one person who I often have to guide a little bit, and he might sometimes try to show people videos, and he's playing them on his phone, and he's saying, everybody can hear it, and I will say, everybody doesn't wanna hear that, so if you're going to do that, you need to move to another location.
And people play music in the gym really loud.
So that's something that we can't have. I mean, people need to understand that it needs to be private and with
Right.
earbuds only. So I did put that right off the bat, because granted, someone could be sitting in the cafe or the study. They might think they can do that, and we don't want them to do that. And maybe not spending lots and lots of time sitting in the cafe on the couch or in the study all day, working. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are just things, a reasonable amount of time that, so. If anyone has some suggestions or reads this and thinks that it's off-putting or that it shouldn't, it isn't being said well.
The thing is, if there's so much copy, they aren't gonna read it.
Well, that is something they don't read on
This
city.
is
This,
smaller.
this-
They would, that's fine.
so.
I would underline independent.
Well, it was underlined, and I did take it off, but if you think that, if everybody agrees that that isn't too, I don't know, I didn't wanna be too overt with my,
Maybe
It's
you
not
just
a
even
baby
put it in
center.
capital letters rather than underlining it, which is a
And
little.
it
I
can
think
be
well, that's
worse.
louder, caps is
Capitalized.
louder.
Not all
not
caps, I'm
capital.
just saying capital I on independent, capital S
No,
on senior.
underline it.
Yeah, I don't think.
Capital I is a political
Yeah, it's a proper
designation.
name.
It's not good in this instance.
Or would you italicize it?
I could italicize.
Yeah,
That might be
that's
a little gentler
Yes,
Yeah,
than underlining, which is
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah.
yelling.
yeah.
that's a good idea.
And the
Well,
same cap.
be respectful and courteous to everyone.
Yeah, I did say everyone, so, and that it was already
I think
underlined,
that's
I don't know.
off-putting.
Visitors, volunteers, I feel that that's important to name volunteers, because sometimes they get the brunt of things when they don't like what they're being told, and you need to remember that these are volunteers who are just expressing, what we've asked, and also staff. Like I said, that really hasn't occurred a great deal. But if anybody has more suggestions,
Or,
maybe
yeah, so
after
we'll type it
reading
in
the
the staff.
full,
The other
Form.
thing you might do is put
Oh.
an asterisk after adults and then put the asterisk down here, because that would be a way of referring it to a complete copy of the standards
Yeah,
of independence.
yeah, I could do that, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
And I will say that I did not interrupt you, but I did want to get your feedback on the over 55, which of course, so far verbally I have said. Sometimes I wished I could pull back and not have said that, but that seems to be the way that I
It is
felt
pretty
we
standard.
should go. But
That's how ARP defines it.
I know, and,
Do you talk with other senior centers too, like their?
it's not across the board, what I don't say, everybody's a little different.
Yeah.
So there isn't a hard and fast rule of thumb, like I think there had been probably that it was just over 60. The 55 and over or over 55, it has started to become somewhat prevalent.
Yeah.
I do feel that we're getting many, we might call junior seniors, certainly in their 60s, and some younger, who are availing themselves of the facility, and that's fine. But I'm just hoping I'm not taking too much away from those over 60 or 65 who, because we have restrictions numbers-wise, now I'm kind of opening up the playing field, and I don't know. So if anyone has opinions on that, it's not like it's too late to sort of pull back on that.
So the wording is different.
Right,
There's
I-
paragraph and the other, I mean.
These are both drafts somewhat, so,
But I know what you mean.
so over 55 is what I have been saying, and it's funny, like, you may have heard me say, we used to say, we don't card at the door, you're all welcome. 'Cause we want- And now I feel like we should card at the door because,
Shut your door.
you know, when they say, am I old enough to come, I'm like, I'm not sure, are you old enough to come? I don't, so, just saying, it's great, it's all great, and we should probably continue to do that. But if anyone has some feelings.
The South Shore Sea,
So in this year, I think we're.
the South Shore Elders, that's 60 and over?
Senior
Yeah.
citizens age 60
Yes.
and older,
Or that was mine, just so I didn't forget to point that out,
Oh.
like it
Yeah,
could be
that's-
either, I would have to
that's
change it
she's
to
asking.
say,
Yeah, I am
I would change it to say
sensitive
either one or
okay,
the other.
got it.
I think 65.
ARP defines
ARP actually does
Oh.
50, age 50.
Oh, yeah, I think they changed.
They had already
I'm sorry.
retired her.
That's okay.
oh, of course, we didn't hear, okay,
Different
sorry,
definition.
I didn't.
I know, that's what I was gonna say, I didn't wanna interrupt you, but is there anything?
The
that
only
you-
thing I was gonna talk about was we had a wonderful theatrical event
It was
on
wonderful.
Tuesday. Meet Choose Your Child, it was
It was
hysterical.
wonderful.
They were phenomenal.
My
And it was a packed house?
And it was,
Fabulous.
Yeah.
sold out, you know, it was great, they had a limit on 70, so but it was sold out and
It was a
just
good
wonderful.
number because we did fit everybody at round tables
And
and
it was,
that,
comfortable.
Yeah.
You know.
And everybody, so you're gonna do something like that again?
We're looking to maybe do something in the fall, or something similar.
Yeah, that'd be great.
they
Okay.
do
I gotta go get ready to get my feet washed.
She's
Yeah.
one of the
oh, are
feet
you?
washers.
Okay, lucky you, all
I
right.
have to pick up my daughter, she's doing it
But
too.
wait a minute, you're taking notes, is there somebody else that can drive?
I called them.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, bye-bye, see you soon, see you in the pews.
You go into
The
the
second more detailed page
So-
really eliminates some people right off the bat. I
If
can
you
think
think
of-
that, yeah, you should talk to me about that, but, one thing I will note is that I was thinking of taking out one of those paragraphs, just because I'm just not sure if that was really necessary to say. It gets into a little bit
Yeah.
of detail about,
Quality.
you know, which I think we may already say in terms of being personal care and able to perform basic activities of daily living in number 3, including hygiene, feeding, I don't wanna go so deep into it that I have to get that specific about, you know, being in the bathroom,
Yeah.
Independently. 'cause
Sounds
that-
like nursing home.
Yeah.
It does.
Qualifications.
And, you know, and we really, like, if we end up doing the, not end up, when we start to include the social day program for, you know, cognitively impaired,
Right.
then that's fine, that's what you expect, and frankly, that's why there's a bathroom in this particular room, because we did kind of design this with that in mind, knowing that down the road we wanted to be able to offer that.
And there's a shower in there in
And
case
there's a
somebody really has.
Linda,
Yeah.
down here it says approved by the board.
So, once this is, if this is final, then I will want to say that, this was done long before me, so that's why there was a 2008 year.
Yeah.
Look, I have certainly changed it, to upgrade the language to become more current, but I've left it in essence what it's been.
Maybe we can
Previously.
revisit it too. I mean,
If you would like to, I'm giving it to you for
yeah,
a reason.
it's
Yeah, maybe
really
we can
important.
include it in the agenda for the next
I
meeting.
think it's becoming important because
Yeah,
we don't want it to be
give all of us
too,
a chance to read it closely.
I mean, if I really have to rely on it, I don't want there to be
Ambiguous.
Yeah.
ambiguity.
Um,
So,
Yeah, is it where it says, oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
We need to go back at the telephone thing, because there are innumerable people with no phone on record, no emergency contact on record.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm trying to call people to tell them that, yes, they made the list for
Right,
lunch,
right.
there's no answer. Or the phone is no longer in service.
In use, yes, that is happening, and that's what I'm saying about, we
Yeah.
can't really
Can I
rely
just
on
make
that.
a suggestion? I mean, this is a really important thing, because this is gonna become the standards of
Mhm.
general policies. I mean, maybe it would be good, you know, just for the the length
Yes.
of the time and everything, because you still have other things to talk about, is to like, everyone a chance to really read through
That's
this.
what I'm suggesting,
Yeah,
take it
come up
home,
with-
read it, you know.
Come up with your notes, your comments and everything, and then we'll put it on the
Yeah.
agenda
Oh, we can do that, absolutely.
for the next meeting.
Mhm.
That's what I had hoped, if you
Yeah,
don't mind.
together.
I will probably, if everybody sort of agrees with the, you know, the bare
The need
bones,
for it?
I think I
Yes,
can just
which
put
one?
that out. Just,
Yeah.
But the full page, I would like your feedback, I
Yeah.
actually would like your feedback.
That, you said you're gonna put it out.
I am.
This one, the short form,
The short version.
You have it, I gave it to you.
Oh,
it's this one, right here, that, the short form. Here, you want a copy?
I have it somewhere.
You do. I mean, no, it
You
can be
just
changed,
specify
it
it.
can be
Yeah, well, okay.
changed, it's not,
Yeah,
just because I
um,
hang it doesn't mean I can't update it and hang it
No,
again.
the reason I was, but that's the one, I mean, it almost should be poster size. You know, people signing in and there's people around.
Mm.
I mean, if you want people
It
to
could be
see
bigger than it is, it happens to be what I had, so I
Yeah.
arranged for it to go in that, but
Yeah.
certainly once, it could be bigger. I did put the bulletin board in the alcove entry
Yeah, that
area,
was great.
and that was a request and a suggestion.
I think it's a great one.
It is a great one, but somebody needs to take care of it, because
yeah.
one of the
That could be its
reasons I
own
do,
thing.
you know, it's already a mess, and people are doing things that we, you know, they're just, you know, when you go into Village Market and it's all a mess, and
Yes.
I don't want that, so I do need someone to take care of it.
Some of them, you know, sometimes they're.
I was gonna ask you the other day. Anyway, all right.
It will only be once a week,
I know.
but I'll do
All right,
it.
so Pat, put that in the notes.
Oh, yeah.
Leslie is now in charge of the goals.
Well, that's
and-
right, that doesn't have to be
Bulletin board
official,
monitor.
she's here on Wednesday mornings, and now I know I can ask, so that's great. Lastly, I will simply mention that I am going before the select board, oh
April
gosh,
26th.
okay, I don't even have the right,
On
sorry.
April 26th.
On April 26th regarding the building use policy, so, actually, at this point, I do have a page, you can look at this is really just the descriptions of the rooms. I was going to, talk to you a little bit about how I thought we might want to charge. Not to say it's arbitrary at all, but in other words, you know, for the whole room downstairs is $400, you know, if someone was renting or using it for, 4+ hours, let's say they are doing a function.
Yeah.
So I thought I printed that, but, for some reason it's not on the back of this page, so I'll send that around, but I don't have those numbers on me right now.
And years ago,
You can email me.
when the town was renting out Pier 44, you could follow some of those policies too.
Well, I've looked at those
Oh,
policies,
yeah.
yes,
Oh,
so I
yeah,
have
but-
incorporated them, but the
This is a
idea,
palace and that was a dog.
So
the,
the
Yeah.
$400
Exactly.
Yeah.
well, again, if,
Wow,
But it would be at night when
very
it's.
reasonable.
so the idea, which is actually I'm sorry, Joan, you don't have to.
That's all right, you do exercise.
Is that for the most part, any request for use of rooms in the building would generally be when we're not open.
Like the veterans lunch
Then what do you
on
do
Sunday.
about staffing as far as closing up the building and stuff like that?
So for basic meetings and things, we would either have, you know, myself or a staff person or a designated volunteer if we felt someone needed to be on the premises. There are people who might use the building that become familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So I can have the doors open automatically when I know there's a meeting. The Water Resource Authority, for instance, you know, I set up the room. You know, sometimes it's nice to be here and direct people, which I have found is necessary. I do need some kind of directory because nobody knows where they're going. I don't know if even, you know, a simple board stand, the blackboards with the letters is something, but we still, you know, we have to do it. I pasted signs on the door, you know what I mean, go up, across from the elevator. So we probably need a little bit more in that way, or someone has to be here and direct. So I have a couple of volunteers who have offered to do that, even if they only spend an hour here. So that's part of it. If it's a real function, someone does need to be on the premises. If we get to the point that the select board does decide that the big room, for instance, can be rented for private functions, which I'm not sure, they will decide that. I mean, the veterans lunch and the policeman's lunch, and that's different. because those are community offered, you know, events. But private, you know, if someone ends up.
Like a retirement party.
Right, and if that comes with the kitchen, then someone either has to be on site who's Serve Safe certified, or they're not using the kitchen, or they have to be trained to use the kitchen. And we will not rent the kitchen right now, because I just think it's too new and, just not comfortable enough with that.
This is great, the different capacities of each room that you-
Right,
you're gonna do.
so, you know, we need to say enough without, I mean, the library's policy is immense and detailed and fabulous, but I just don't feel I need to go into that detail right now. If we know what we have, what I might suggest for costs, for any of these rooms, for instance, $100 to rent this room, either for a whole day, for 4+ hours, or 1 to 3 hours, you know, $50 for the conference room, $100 for this. I don't know if that's necessary even, but that's different than people coming in and saying, you know, can we play bridge, who are seniors, and, you know, we kind of want to make things available if we can. So there's a difference between the private rentals, the community use, that for nonprofits, for community, town-supported committees, and
people, like
entities.
real estate agents, that wanna run a workshop there like.
well, that would be a private rent, that would have to be
Yeah,
a
it'd be a
private
private
rental.
rental, right.
So are your numbers low? So were you saying $50 for?
You know, I
That
can't
seems
believe I
really low.
didn't end up bringing that upstairs, so
Wait.
I could run down and get it, because off the top of my head, I'm just trying to remember what I might have said. You know, 400 for the big room, because I didn't know, should we go as high as 500? Yes.
Have a wedding
The Maritime
for
Center, for
$400.
instance,
Getting a conference
the
room?
Maritime
20 hours?
Center is
Yeah, I
either
think that's-
400
Wow.
or 450 for a resident to rent.
Okay.
It's 600 or 650 for a non-resident to rent. That's the Maritime Center, and, you know, that's
It's
a lovely
nice-
space.
It's a nice space.
Very private.
Right, I mean, we are a public community resource, you know, should we be a little less, or should we go premium?
Should be more.
Should be more. So that could be, and that's fine, as long as I can go in with a, it's a beautiful, and, you know, the idea for rentals is that obviously you're using lights, you're using,
Yeah.
environmental, you know,
Yeah.
AC or heat, and occasionally custodian. But not necessarily custodian, it really does depend. They don't have to necessarily be there cleaning up after them, it just means the next day, I mean, everybody's gonna leave with their trash if they have an event here. That would have
And
to
set
be
up.
stipulated.
I mean, that's still your time,
Right.
regardless of
Right.
whether you're.
Putting
here
the round
every day.
tables or the
Yeah,
chairs up
absolutely.
is certainly
I
something.
It's low.
This
I
meeting,
think 500,
did they,
nice round number.
Yep.
did the selectmen request this meeting, or you requested it?
For the big.
Both, I mean, both, it's past due, I have certainly I feel probably, you may feel I should have done this before, but there's a lot on my plate, and now just seeing what I have been asked, you know what I mean, and I have made some decisions as to who to have in the building so far that I was willing and able to manage and be there for, but obviously if it was to go further than that, I'm not always going to be able to do that, so we need more staff or volunteers or guidelines to know what that has to be. So now I'm getting to it, and they would like it done, yes. So, anyway, so that's the beginning of it. There are some, you know, sort of the nitty-gritty policies once we do that, and then just price if it's rental. The others aren't rental. I mean, I have told you before that people I've allowed to meet here. You know, they're community-based. So I think they've been in keeping with, as I might have, with the mission that, you know, we do want to make this available when it's appropriate to others in the community who are serving the common good, and sponsored or sanctioned by the select board.
But not like somebody that needs it on a regular basis.
Regular basis is hard, because we never know what we might need it for, and we don't want to do that, especially like, well, a Sunday, for instance, where in our old building, we did allow a very nice, large family support group for people affected from addiction. It was a great support group. They could have had 30, 40 people in that room. Sometimes I didn't even know, and the parking lot was full on a Sunday. No, we weren't using it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We might use this building on a Sunday in the big room. I couldn't tell them they could have it every week. And I told them that, so they are, I think, using the community building now.
But were they paying?
They were not, no.
One of the questions I had is, and just thinking about so many people, there were so many like freelance, consultant, home-based businesses now, particularly since COVID, and a lot of people are operating out of their homes and not in offices. So, I mean, there could be a need / demand for people, for example, if they want to have a meeting with one, one person or two people or something like that, and they're operating out of their home, and they don't really have a professional place to meet, and they don't want to meet at Lucky Finn's. So are any of are all of the private offices being used? Yeah, okay.
I mean, this conference room behind me
Would
is
be
something that
available.
would be,
Available.
but again, what should it be, $50 for a couple hours or $100? It's hard to
The
say.
library has stuff like you're talking about.
They do. Now, they can't charge for their rooms, so
Oh, they kind of.
they,
Oh,
they have policies,
Yeah, you're talking about like private study rooms?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have conference rooms.
they have conference rooms.
And we've used the conference room.
Yeah, I used the conference room for 50 plus
Right.
for a few things, but,
Right.
So they
yeah,
can't
they didn't
charge.
charge.
So
They
they-
were in town service, so.
Yeah, they are restricted. Their mission restricts them.
I don't know if they would do it for like a single person, like,
I'm not sure either.
yeah.
That's in their policy, whether or not they would.
Yeah, it's probably for them to give up a conference
I can't
room
remember.
for one person.
But you think go on the high, at least to start, and see what people say about that,
Yeah.
which I will do.
Yeah.
And again,
Just
it
give
was
them
nice to
the
really, I
going
really
rates.
needed some guidance, just before I put it in hard print. But what can I, like the yoga room, no, it's not a yoga room, the fitness room. I have had calls already and have not allowed anybody in there, but certainly people who wanna run a workshop, they have to, maybe they're yoga, maybe there's something, maybe they wanna do a day-long thing. So, I mean, it's not doing anything on a weekend, it's available, but they need to pay for it. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely,
Absolutely.
like, 'cause I know like ballroom dance instructors, professionals that don't have their own studio,
Yeah.
they rent
Yeah.
floor space,
They rent.
and it's expensive.
So that could happen.
But then they would get into wanting it every week, or no.
Oh, if it was a class, that's different, and I don't know if I would give it up for a regular class unless it was a class we could
Right.
offer. I mean, I would offer a
Right.
yoga class on Saturday morning,
Mhm.
if why not? We might not be officially open, but I don't see a problem with having a yoga class on Saturday morning, it's great.
That would be awesome.
Or at night, so I would do that.
Mhm.
In that case, it's not them, for their own business.
Yeah.
Right, profit.
It would be for the greater good.
We would offer it and then we'd have to compensate them the way we compensate everybody else. So if they wanted it differently, then that would be different, then they'd
Sure.
have to rent. So, I guess,
So you would be going to, before the board of selectmen about this?
yes, well, they do have to approve the
And
policy.
will they give you an answer as to what?
I assume they will, I probably have to have it to them beforehand, so they'll review it before the meeting and then we'll talk about it and then they would probably give their
That's good.
opinion. So that's what I'm doing. And I guess that's about it for me, certainly, I know we were on a
The,
stricter schedule.
the building issues,
The
Boston
buildings,
Showcase,
yes, so the stove continues to be a problem for the
Boy.
kitchen. I mean, not a huge problem, it's working just fine now, but it's just not reliable,
Yeah.
and then the company that was coming in to perform service that we needed, actually came to a conclusion that we don't agree with, any of us. Fred in particular, but also the contractor, and so they're taking care on their end of deciding how this should be handled, because the design is in question really, whether it is a good design for what the use should be, and I mean, if it's just turning on the pilots, if the pilots can't be, easily accessed, then we can't turn on the pilots, and that's been an issue for the griddle. So we're just in a little bit of, I don't know, disagreement at the moment, because we were fine, we thought everything was fixed, Fred said it's working fine, it'll be fine. And then it didn't work again, and then we had to call them out again, and then they argued whether it should be in warranty. Well, we really haven't used the stove for a full year yet, so we didn't think it should be out of warranty. And then they decided that because he was using a big brazier, it's called, a pot, it's a normal kitchen pot, but it is big, and he needs it, he can't cook for 50 people and not use a bigger pot. And they said that that was out of compliance, the use of the stove, which is like a crazy thing to say. So that was a big mistake on their part. So, so we're going back out to now. That was one thing, and we have some fan issues, both in the kitchen. And then, oh, well, we had a couple, the table broke in one of the other rooms. It just, literally, one of these tables came apart so that the leg fell off with somebody, they did lean on it, but please, it's a commercial table. So they just came today and replaced the leg, but that was weird. One of the coffee tables downstairs chipped the leg, so we replaced that today, and the rug is damaged, and we didn't do it. So I'm waiting to hear about that claim. So
Wow.
it figures, we're here a year, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like it was just,
right after
everything
one.
was happening very quickly. So that's all what that is.
Wow. Any questions, comments? Lots going on. Busy, busy.
And Linda was aware of every detail of the
Yeah,
barn.
really. I know, really.
Well, I tried.
She has multiple, she has out-of-body experiences multiple times a day.
Well, you know, I don't mean
She's
to say
here.
life is that easy, but it certainly is easier having a very capable and complete staff. Really, that makes a difference, and volunteers as well. So honestly, that's made things a little bit easier for me to do what I guess I should be doing,
Right.
overseeing a little
You
bit
still
more.
have to keep it all running.
Yeah, I do.
You do.
I do.
You're aware of
You do a
I'm
every
great
still up and
job.
down the stairs all day
facet
long.
of what's going on.
Well,
The griddle.
and I don't know if you heard in town meeting was comprehensive, but they did give accolades to the senior center twice,
Yeah.
which was very nice. But also happened to mention increased staffing, which I just was 7 hours, you know,
I
in the
know.
budget.
Right, it's not like,
It's not like 7 new people.
Which is
Oh,
wonderful,
7 new
not that we
hours.
couldn't use that, but I, you know,
Wow.
it's not really an increase
Exactly.
to the staff itself, other than the kitchen assistant, which is, you know,
Right.
12 to 15 hours.
So the increase, it wasn't an increased staff, just increased.
Hours.
Just 5 additional hours,
For the kitchen.
which is on the budget, so her 5 additional hours is coming out of the municipal budget, whereas her 25 other hours come out of a formula grant. And then 2 hours were added for Fred, up to 20 instead of 18,
Well,
which he's already worked with. I mean, the menu alone
takes some.
takes, you know, a lot of that.
Yeah.
Can I just bring up, talking about town meeting and board of selectmen and, we have a liaison with this board, but nobody's been in attendance at a meeting for,
I will check in with her,
6
because
months,
I'm thinking to
at
myself, I
least.
hope I did email her. I think I included her in the email.
My husband never misses, but with the new rise in COVID, he wasn't comfortable. He never misses a meeting, it's the first one he's missed in
I think,
20
I'm
years.
I think
talking about
Leslie's
this
talking about the
meeting.
liaisons.
the liaison.
Oh,
with the board
I'm
of
sorry.
selectmen.
Okay.
When you
So,
said
I
town, I
just-
heard town.
Trying to stick to the agenda and make sure that we can close up so that people that come to
is she in
church can
contact
get
with
there.
you, Linda? Do you?
Ordinarily, she had been, and I haven't heard the last couple of months, so I will check with her.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, Linda, for your detailed report. So on liaison updates, you know, Leslie mentioned Karen and Linda can get in
I
touch
will,
with her and see.
One other comment, I guess, just on the other reports, Jess did produce at least activities,
Oh,
you know, the broad strokes of things that we're doing, and in addition, numbers for some of the activities and events. So I think that's nice for you to have and to review on your own. The vans, I just want to say, it's been actually very nice. Often days, Lillian is actually getting people out on all 3 vans. So we are doing more in terms of medical rides out of town that might involve 1 or 2 of the vans. And then always have the 3rd van available for local rides. whether that's a supermarket trip or rides to here or other places in town. So that's actually been a really nice trend that all 3 vans are out of the parking lot and in use for at least part of the day.
That's great.
So that's,
drivers.
and we have enough drivers,
Yeah.
exactly.
Fabulous.
Joe is taking a bit of a leave in June for what might end up being a couple of months. But Debbie Young, who also does school bus driving, has been able to supplement so far, and I think we'll be fine when summer comes, because there won't be the school bus driving as well. So hopefully that works out. And if we end up being able to find another driver who could help out in the summer, that would be great. That's it.
Awesome.
How is everything going with the lunch program as far as people showing up and last meeting?
Pretty
I
good,
think
pretty,
it was,
yeah.
It was kind of a problem.
We've been filling the dining room more often than not.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, he is bringing in May and June and the warmer months, more salads and protein kind of a thing. So chef salad or Caesar salads, or he made a fabulous meal just this week, I think it was Monday, which was a piece of grilled chicken on salad greens, but also with hummus and pita bread. And I mean, that was amazing, right? It was like, and yet it's a salad, but it was just really nice. So
Was
the idea
today's-
that he could do
today's
more of
salmon,
that.
right? Was today's salmon?
Today was,
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think it's been sold out.
no, in hindsight, the salmon was much more expensive than, if he'd known that, he wouldn't have done it. And we haven't had to cancel anything and change anything, but he would have.
Yeah.
But he already had ordered it, so, or had got it. It's just the price in a short time went up so
Yeah, yeah.
much. So that's, if that continues to happen, then he'll have to curtail a little bit of what he has.
How's the 2 week, no more than 2 week in advance?
You know what, frankly, it is work, I think it's
that's
working
working
just
really
fine.
well, I was just gonna say
Yeah,
that.
good. And we have been hard line, and we also have been asking people not, they might try and call and sign up 5 additional people with them. So we've kept it to, you can sign yourself up and one other person, but if, you can ask them to call themselves. Partly that's the independent thing, I mean, they should be able to call, make their own, you know, reservations,
Yes.
but it's too much time on the front desk
Sure.
persons, and anyway, it seems reasonable to ask that.
And so what, does the new menu go out every other Monday? I mean, the new,
We post the menu every 2 weeks on the day, not the Monday. We started to do the Monday, but really that was pretty much 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
oh, okay.
So I didn't like that.
So today you can make a reservation
For 2
for
weeks from today?
Tuesday, Thursday, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And there are
And-
people who walk in the door every single day to make a lunch reservation out 2 weeks.
Oh,
I mean, there
yeah.
could be more guidelines to come, but so far I think we're doing it.
So, we're here.
Any other questions, comments on Linda's report?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving along to liaison updates. I think we got our cost up.
It was a great,
liaison.
they did a great job, I will give them kudos, it was nice. The performers did tell me that they do a Lizzie board and they redo the board case for Lizzie board, and I like that idea.
Where, if you have here.
Yeah, to
Oh,
have
that'd be
here.
awesome.
And that's just
In
the kind of
October.
thing we should write a cultural council grant for, you know, they would
Yes.
love that, like we could pay for them through that, because that's sort of short, 300 to 400 or 500, I'm not sure,
That'd be a
something like
great idea, do it
Yeah, in
in
October.
October.
Right.
Well,
Lead up
that
to
was at the
Halloween.
fall, so
Yeah.
Elaine said that, so I like that idea.
That is great, that's super.
They were very nice.
All right, Elaine, I know you've been patient.
Oh, Joan,
Joan, yes. Joan, you're up. What can you tell us about elder services?
Well, our first meeting, it was the first meeting we've had this year because of the COVID, was on March 15th.
In person,
Huh?
in person.
In person, yeah. Well, we haven't been, they haven't been doing Zoom or anything either, we just haven't had any meetings. They give a detailed financial report and everything is, they're doing good, it's a good budget. They're still doing good despite the COVID. They had, we met like last year, late last year, but then beginning of this year, they had more people in the office and other workers that came down with COVID. None of them were bad enough to be hospitalized. And of course, the increasing in salary and cost because of the prices of everything going up. And they also are meal drivers, if they, not all of them, but some of them get travel expense, that's the big thing that increase that. There's a new mass home care executive director. And then they had, they gave out this booklet, has everything in it.
Okay.
That's all. Had you seen this yet?
No.
Oh, okay, so that.
Oh, did you give me a copy?
Yeah, I got them to give me a bunch so they could give them out to the board, and you should be getting some, I'll be able to get some. But everything is like that booklet they used to have, so this includes everything that they do in detail.
There's a new executive director for,
Not
there was a new executive director for Mass.
Mass Home Care Executive. Michael Bonhill. Bonnenbillie.
Bonneo.
Well, we will have a couple of people, as Erin was saying, from Social Elder Services doing this healthy eating workshop for the next 6 or 8 weeks, which I think will be nice to have them in the
Yeah.
house.
Well, you know they're coming out, tell them you'd like to have some extra copies.
Yeah, this would be great to
And
have.
then they had a detailed plan that they a booklet, which is an operation plan for any major emergency, so if something really happened, like, and if the COA isn't there, who takes over, so they have a detailed report on that. And then, every year they do this, I've given to you one last year, they do this for every town.
Wow.
So it's all about what's going on in Scituate, which I think is, very good. It's back and front, there's 2 pages. So it gives you
$10,000.
what's going on and where the help they're doing in Scituate. Each town is different. And then this other one was the Massachusetts Care Program, the volunteer co-pay and cost sharing. So it just breaks down what it costs for couples, what the income, and they thought that board members would be interested in that.
So that's how much the person would have to pay their share of it to get the service?
Yeah.
If it's a voluntary
So they
co-pay,
cover, well, a lot of it, it's the same with what they say with the Meals on Wheels. They claim the Meals on Wheels is $5, and they ask for $2, which is volunteer, it's like a donation. Most people do it, but some people can't afford to do it. And they've started, we have people that pick up meals on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at Meals on Wheels, and so now on Fridays, we used to have a luncheon on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and those people wanted to be able to continue, so they used to pick up the meal. So now we're only gonna do it, we're only having a program on Friday. And a lot of these people are people that are not coming into the senior center.
I'd be interested in why, maybe we'll visit.
Some of them
On
really a
Friday.
minimum income, it's $2, they just,
We should know, we could make,
So that's what some of the people have told us. Some of the people do come here certain times,
And they'll
they
know they're
don't come every day, but they come certain times. But they just, they kept asking us, when can we get together? Because they kind of, it's a group, and they just kind of miss being.
So they would go there for the lunch that you guys used to?
On Friday, it's on Friday. But they can pick up the meals
Well, there
on
you go,
Mondays and
because there's no
Wednesdays.
sit-down lunch here on Friday. So there's some people that are just like, lunch for $5 every day.
Well, it's
Pretty good
less,
deal.
it will be less there, it'll be only a couple of dollars.
Wow, that's a pretty good deal.
You know, I was just
Costs
talking
$20
about
to
sister.
get a big salad nowadays.
My sister takes a lot of the courses here, and she goes to the lunches. And she said the people she was sitting with at the Julia Child, they were all talking about how on Thursdays they go to Cohasset, on this one, like people are hopping from lunch place to lunch place.
That could be,
Did you know that? I had no idea.
I know that some,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, think about it, if you can go to
Wait,
5 different places for $5, that's
Yeah.
$25 for a week's worth of
Right.
lunches.
Right.
You can't even buy a salad for $5.
Right.
We also check on these people, make sure everything's all right.
Yeah,
So like, during the cold, most of them had coolers, which they had to have an ice thing in. And if they didn't have it there, then they don't answer the door, we always call, we call South Shore Elderly Services, and they have the emergency number. And a lot of times too, if there's services they need and all, then South Shore Elderly Services contacts the senior center. Or the veterans. We've had veterans help out. But one man, his refrigerator didn't work and he couldn't afford to fix it, the veterans went and fixed it for him.
that's awesome. Get them on this resource list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is Mass at 7 or 7:30?
it's at 7:30, I have a meeting at 7.
Yeah, okay. So, thank you very much, Joan. It sounds like things are
That's
going
it.
really well there, yeah. Any questions for Joan
Joe, can I get a copy of that? I didn't get, of the book.
of the?
Huh?
I didn't get a copy of that. Could I get a copy?
And there are some agencies like this that have a lot of trouble during COVID, but South Shore Elderly hasn't had any problem.
That's awesome, that's awesome. Super, thank you.
And I have some of these if anybody needs them, they have hundreds of these.
We have hundreds of these.
And also CVS is handing out buckets, literally, of
For
Mass.
If you want 'em, I got some.
I'll take
I'll
it.
take one.
All right, any old business, new business? No, okay. So I think, would someone make a motion?
Make a
Thank
motion.
you.
Second.
Thank you. All right, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much.